Let's explore how we convert between the US customary and the metric system if I'm trying to do area and volume conversions. In our first example, we're going to change 14 square centimeters to square inches. So the given information, which is my 14 square centimeters, I'm going to put over 1. Now I technically have 2 centimeter units in here that I need to convert out. So I'm going to set up 2 new fractions with centimeters on the diagonal of where it is occurring right now. Since centimeters is right now in the numerator, my 2 new centimeter units are going to be in the denominator. Now I'm going to explore if I know a relationship between centimeters, which is what I'm in, and inches, which is what I'm trying to go to. The fact that I'm trying to convert it out to square inches is going to be handled because I set up 2 fractions right here. Now the relationship is there's 2.54 centimeters and 1 inch. So the 2.54 I'll put right next to my centimeter label, and in the numerator I'll put 1 inch. So I have 2.54 centimeters and 1 inch. So my square centimeters will cancel with my centimeter labels that are on the diagonals. You can see I'm left with inches and inches or square inches. So for my final answer, in the numerator I'll have 14 times 1 times 1, which is 14. In the denominator I'll have 1 times 2.54 times 2.54. which is the same thing as saying 2.54 squared. Now if you wanted to put this whole thing in your calculator at once, you could do that. Your calculator will follow the order of operations and it will do the exponent before it does the division, because exponents are more important in my order of operations. So you could just pop that whole thing in your calculator and you will get 2.17000. There's some more numbers after that, but that'll be enough if I'm trying to do this to 3 significant digits. So if I keeping the first 3 significant digits, since the value in the 4th spot is a 0, I won't round the value in the 3rd spot up. So that'll be 2.17, and then my units would be square inches. If you wanted to, instead of setting up 2 fractions, if you wanted to get a little bit fancier, you could use an exponent on your conversion factor. So since I know that 1 inch is equivalent to 2.54 centimeters, and I'll need to do that twice because I'm trying to convert out the square centimeters, you could put a parentheses around the entire conversion factor and square that whole thing if you wanted to use. This is another way of writing it. I like to expand it out, but you could do this in this kind of condensed format. Let's convert out a volume conversion. How many cubic yards are in 12 cubic meters? I'll start with putting 12 cubic meters in the numerator of a fraction over the number 1. Now I technically have 3 meter units that I need to cancel, so I'm going to set up 3 new fractions with meters on the diagonal, and I'm going to ask myself if I know a relationship between meters and yards. And one of the relationships I know is that in 1 yard there is 0.9144 meters. So I'm going to go ahead and use that. So in 1 yard there is 0.9144 meters. So the 0.9144 will always go next to my meter label, which is in the denominator, and my 1 yard information will go in the numerator. My cubic meters cancel with the MMM in the denominator, and I'm left with yards times yards times yards, or cubic yards upstairs. Now to figure out the numerical value for my answer, now that I know that I have the right units, I'll have 12 times 1 times 1 times 1, which is 12. Downstairs, the 0.9144, I'm multiplying it by itself 3 times. So that's technically 0.9144 cubed, if you wanted to use the exponent. And again, you can key this whole thing in your calculator. It will follow order of operations. It will do the exponent for what you should get in the denominator before it'll do the division. All right, so if you pop that whole thing in your calculator, you get 15.6954, and there's a couple numbers after that, but if I want to keep this to 3 significant digits, I'll keep the 1, the 5, and then to figure out what's in my 3rd spot, since the number in the 4th spot is 5 or bigger, it's specifically that 9, I'll round up the value in the third spot, so I'll have 15.7, and then my units are in cubic yards. If you wanted to, you could set this up using an exponent on your conversion factor. So again, I had the 0.9144 meters was equivalent to 1 yard as my conversion factor. If you know you have to do this 3 times because you're converting out cubic meters, you could put parentheses around the whole thing and just raise it to the third power. I like to write it out so I can kind of see a little bit more carefully that everything is going to cancel the way I want it to, but this is another way to do it.